Good evening. Welcome to CEC Gurukul lecture. I am Satish Kumar Jha. Today, in fact, we are going to discuss a topic which is very important from the point of view of political theory and political science, that is liberal democracy and its critiques. So, liberal elements in liberal democracy emerged historically sometime before such states could genuinely be described as democratic. And constitutional governments in fact came in 19th century when franchise was limited. So, therefore, one can say that the liberal elements in liberal democracy emerged before in proper sense of the term these governments became democratic. Now, democratic features in fact took centuries to crystallize. For example, we should remember that one of the important democratic feature in liberal democracy is universal adult franchise, and universal adult franchise came basically or became a reality only in 20th century, so much so that many countries who perhaps claim to be very developed democracy started giving a right to vote to women in 20th century, like Switzerland, England and many other countries. So, therefore, this aspect is important, how that democratic feature was late in coming. Now, coming to the liberal features in liberal democracy, what are the liberal features and what are the democratic features? As I mentioned, the combination of two make it liberal democracy, and therefore, it differentiates it from the other classical notion of democracy, the way perhaps it was understood in ancient Greek Roman period, or for that matter even in ancient Indian society. So, therefore, in fact, this is to be remembered so far as liberal democracy is concerned. This combination is important, combination of liberal virtues and democratic features. Now, what are the liberal features in this liberal democracy? The first important feature is that it stresses the value of freedom and rights of individual. Now, freedom and rights of the individual is important because that is perhaps the hallmark of liberalism. Liberalism is differentiated from other isms or other ideology in terms of its emphasis on freedom of the individual and the rights of the individual. So, therefore, two important features of liberal democracy have been have come from liberalism, because liberal democracy also talks about value of freedom, and therefore, I told you that in style constitutional innovations in modern time, both United States of America and other countries have been largely in order to make freedom secure. Most of the thinkers, or one can say the authorities on liberal democracy, have been concerned about freedom, that how to make freedom safer for human beings, how the rights of individual can be secured, how the rights of individual should not be trampled upon by the state. So, therefore, freedom and rights, which are today very important integral to liberal democracy, have come from liberal discourse or liberalism. The second important feature is tolerance and diversity. Of course, this is a matter of debate in recent times, because tolerance and diversity are important features of democracy, but it is important features of liberalism. But today, in fact, when we are talking about freedom and tolerance and diversity, we should remember that lot of critics are also there who say that liberal democracy till the time they sensitize them about this issue of diversity and tolerance was basically blind or oblivious to this idea of pluralism and multiculturalism. That entire idea of tolerance is very important for liberalism. Locke and all other thinkers have been have talked about tolerance. John Stuart Mill and others, particularly tolerating the minority or multiplicity of ideas from the point of view of truth, from the point of view of harmony, from the point of view of freedom, and number of things. But the critics in recent times have said that liberal democracy, the way it evolved in the West, compromised this tolerance and diversity, because it tried to homogenize this entire thing, a homogenized society through democratic means, and therefore multicultural critique of liberal democracy is important, which we will be touching upon when we will discuss the critique of liberal democracy. But within liberal democracy, as a theory, as a principle, tolerance and diversity are important. They became dormant according to critics. they were not given proper attention, but nonetheless they have been there and they have come from liberalism. The third is autonomy of the individual, that individual is considered an autonomous agent in society. It is a subject who enjoys autonomy from authorities, all sorts of domination and hierarchy, and it is the result of enlightenment and rationalist sensibility of modern time. The way perhaps Europe witnessed this enlightenment moment, the way individual was basically looked at, the way individual was considered autonomous and free agent in society, particularly free from hierarchy, authority, domination. The way perhaps the earlier medieval European society was characterized under the rule of Pope, Church and the king. So therefore this autonomy of individual became important element of this liberalism, and this has also entered into this liberal democracy. Here perhaps this social contract theory and its contribution is important so far as liberalism is concerned. The next important liberal feature is the limited government, where the individual is seen to be enjoying protection from the state, and as you know, in liberalism a state is seen as a necessary evil. It is seen as an evil but a necessary because of the human nature, because human nature cannot manage its affairs without some organization of power like a state, and therefore state is seen as a necessary evil. So therefore this necessary evil concept gives birth to a government, but that is limited government, and it is here that Locke becomes important as a champion of limited government, that how government is to be limited. One limitation is the consent of the people, and this is perhaps the hallmark of liberal democracy, and this limited government has also emerged from this liberalism, and therefore the liberal democracy banks on this important concept of liberalism, that is limited government. So therefore this limited government is on the one hand protection from the state authority, on the other hand this is also a kind of a protection, particularly mechanism of limited government, particularly in form of constitutionalism and Bill of Rights, that is negative rights, independent judiciary and checks and balances. These are the measures through which the idea of limited government is perhaps operationalized, and perhaps it is practiced in liberal democracy, or one can say that in most of the democracies in today's world, particularly those who claim to be liberal democracy, are seen to be based on the principles of liberal democracy. But this principle of limited government is essentially liberal in its nature. Now constitutionalism is another feature. Now constitutionalism, as we know, protects both from the tyranny of the state as well as from tyranny of the majority in society, particularly raw power of the masses, because democracy stands for the raw power of the masses. In democracy the people are sovereign, their will is sovereign, but that will becomes the power of the people. But how that power will work, how that power will function, in fact democracy doesn't have much to say, and it is here constitutionalism as an important value coming from liberalism makes liberal democracy what it is today. That combination of constitutionalism and the raw power of the masses, because in absence of constitutionalism, in fact democracy can degenerate into mobocracy, the rule of the majority. Basically unruly masses will basically rule or create chaos in the society. So therefore it will become some sort of grammar of anarchy, and it is here constitutionalism plays important role, and this value again is important element of liberalism. So therefore we can say that this constitutionalism is both as a check on the tyranny of the state. It doesn't allow the state to become tyrannical because it has to abide by the laws of the constitution, the rule of law and other things. On the other hand, it is also check on the democracy in terms of will of the people. So therefore this is perhaps one important aspect of in fact liberal democracy. Now coming to this procedural democracy, particularly the way liberal democracy is seen to be considered to be a kind of procedural democracy, because liberal democracy is seen to be procedural in nature. particularly it requires mediatory institutions between civil society and the state, and particularly the procedure is important. I was just mentioning about the raw will of the people, that how majoritarianism, the tendency of majoritarianism is always there in democracy, but that majoritarianism is checkmated through a concept that is called procedural democracy, that certain procedures have to be put in place, and those those procedures are perhaps the guiding aspect of this democratic government, that those procedures, every decision is to be taken in through certain procedural norms and procedural ways. So therefore this procedural democracy is also important. In fact, there is also another parallel concept that is called substantive democracy and procedural democracy. The critics say that liberal democracy is only procedural. It talks of freedom, it talks of rights, it talks of equality, and essentially it only talks of procedures and laws of the constitution. But in practice it does not tell much that whether those rights, those values which are guaranteed in constitution in liberal democracy are practiced or not. So therefore the critique of procedural democracy talk about substantive democracy, that how substantive these ideas are realized, they are materialized, how they become substantive in terms of their actual operation. And therefore this is one of the important criticism of liberal democracy today, coming from the school of thought which believes in substantive democracy against this procedural democracy. The next aspect of liberal feature in liberal democracy is the concept of choice. And choice is another important aspect of man or women or individuals in a society in modern time, that every individual is considered a rational agent, and since it is endowed with reason, it is also a free agent in society, and that freedom it exercises in terms of exercising its choices. And this concept of choice is essentially related to the concept of market society, and therefore liberalism at times is considered as an ideology of capitalism, because normally the market society is a society which we see only within capitalism, where perhaps the working of the society happens the way we see the working of a market, where basically consumers and buyers come, and where the people exercise choices particularly in terms of buying and selling. So therefore the concept of choice getting associated the concept of market society, and market society getting linked to capitalism is an important aspect of liberal democracy, and therefore many people believe that this aspect of choice which has come from liberalism takes liberal democracy closer to the capitalist order. And this is perhaps one of the radical criticism of liberal democracy, which we will also see later. The next is the concept of civil society. This concept of civil society, of course, is a concept which is very important in political theory. A number of ideas exist on this civil society, but normally it is seen based on civil liberties, property rights, associational life and contractual relations. Essentially it is considered again as a bourgeois society, the capitalist society, a society which emerged after feudal order, where for the first time relations became contractual and free, where the property rights people enjoyed, where life was associational. And as I was mentioning earlier, Tocqueville, particularly when he made comparison between the France and United States of America so far as functioning of democracy is concerned, he extolled American experience because of this vibrant and robust civil society in United States of America, which he believed was the reason for the protection of liberty of the people and protection of their rights. So therefore the civil society is another important feature of liberal democracy which has come from liberalism. Of course, we can also see that this civil society also stands for pressure groups and interest groups, because civil society within civil society we have seen that how associational life is an important feature of civil society, and this associational life is normally revolves around pressure groups and interest groups, political parties, and therefore the capitalist socio-economic order in fact is basically closely tied with this concept of civil society and choice. So therefore, point number 5 and 6 which we discussed, choice and civil society, are features of capitalism, and they have come through liberalism to liberal democracy, and therefore many people believe that liberal democracy is essentially a system which is best fitted for capitalism. We will have some discussion on this, particularly the criticisms part when we will take up. So therefore, the liberal features in fact may be precondition for liberal democracy, because without these liberal features which gradually crystallized in modern time and joined hands with the democratic features and gave birth to this liberal democracy, we should remember one thing, that these liberal features may be necessarily precondition for liberal democracy, but should not be mistaken for democracy itself, because these features in themselves cannot make democracy. What then democracy is all about? And these democratic elements in liberal democracy stand for different set of factors, and what are those factors that we will be looking at now. Now, these democratic features in liberal democracy, after looking at these liberal features, let us turn our eyes to these democratic features in liberal democracy. What are these democratic features? The first important democratic feature is consent, that no government, no authority should exist without consent of the people, and this is perhaps the hallmark of democracy, the most important element, the constitutive element of democracy. It is based on the principle that consent of the people is important, and we have seen that how this emerged in modern time, particularly with this slogan of no taxation without representation, how Locke became the champion of right to property, and how the property owners started arguing that they cannot be taxed without their consent, and therefore this was the beginning of a democratic moment in modern period of time, and this gradually got expressed through act of voting, which is another important aspect of liberal democracy, particularly the electoral democracy. As I mentioned earlier, that in spite of having some strand of thought in modern time which advocated direct democracy, liberal democracy is essentially indirect representative democracy, and that representative indirect democracy materializes through act of voting, the periodic voting at certain interval. So therefore, this is important aspect, that the consent of the people, and that consent secured through act of voting perhaps is an important democratic feature in liberal democracy. Then liberal democracy is an electoral democracy, as I mentioned, that popular election as a source of authority and legitimacy. Now there are two issues related to it now, and that has generated lot of debates in modern time, that who are these people whose consent is to be secured. And I told you that this issue did not get settled easily. It took centuries for this issue to be resolved, that who are these people whose consent is required in this liberal democracy. Now initially, as I told you, that right to vote was only limited or extended to the property owners, then it was extended to those who were educated, then they were extended, they were available only to the male members of society, then they were not available to the colored people in Western democracies, particularly the blacks, the Africans, Afro-Asians and many others. Therefore, this issue that who is this people, and therefore whose consent is required in this democracy, which is an important democratic aspect in liberal democracy, lingered for centuries, and gradually it got settled only with the birth of universal adult franchise. And universal adult franchise, I told you, emerged or finally fructify only in a 20th century, when most of the countries today can claim that their democracy is functioning based on universal adult franchise. India to that extent can be considered an exception, that it is one country which started its democratic journey with universal adult franchise after its constitution came into force in 1950. Now another important issue along with this, that who is this people whose consent is required, that how to measure this consent, that people have consented, how would you know? How the government can claim that it has the consent of the people, because this is something important for legitimacy of the authority. So therefore, this measuring this consent. Now this entire issue of measuring the consent is the issue of representation, another important democratic feature of liberal democracy, because I told you that essentially it is an indirect electoral democracy. So therefore, consent, the measuring of consent, whose consent is to be required, and therefore measuring of this consent essentially become the question of representation. And what mechanism of representation will best reflect the consent of the people has been debated time and again, and there are two important mechanisms through which the political scientists and political theorists have reflected on this. One is first past the post system, and another is proportional representation system. These two systems are considered perhaps the important mechanisms through which the consent of the people is measured. And when the government is basically formed through democratic means, through electoral means, when the consent is secured and sought through one of these means, then it is considered a legitimate government and legitimate authority. Now, of course, the proportional representation has many variants, list system, array system, and many other variants, but nonetheless together one can say the first past the post system and proportional representation system, these are the two ways in which the consent of the people is measured. Now, therefore, we can say the representative or indirect democracy becomes integral to liberal democracy, and this is a democratic feature which has come gradually as a constitutive element of liberal democracy. Now, one thing is important, as I mentioned, that representative indirect democracy becomes integral, constitutive of liberal democracy. Direct democracy, as I was telling you, that even today we find there are some instances, but they exist as an exception, not as a rule. For example, in some countries like Switzerland, where you still have certain practices which resemble direct democracy, about which Rousseau and others were so concerned, particularly when these countries rely on method like recall, initiative, referendum, and many other measures through which people seek to decide about important issues themselves without a periodic election through representatives, the way perhaps it happens in representative democracy, or even in some states of United States of America. For certain important issues, these methods and these measures are adopted. Even some other countries have this provision in some extraordinary situation, but as I mentioned earlier, it exists not as a rule but as an exception. Then the question of political equality, that every person is to have one vote and one value, and this is an important issue so far as this democratic element in liberal democracy is concerned. The political equality. Now, there is and it is here that we can see the important distinction between the classical democracy, the way it was looked at, the way it worked and operated in the Greek city-states, and the modern liberal democracy. Because in Greek city-state there was no equality. As you know, that slavery was justified by thinkers, and many people considered that the society inequality is natural. But it is here that liberal democracy has an edge, because it believes in the question of political equality, that every person is to count for one and none more than for one. So therefore, in fact, but one thing is to be remembered, that it took centuries for political equality to be realized, and the suffrage movement is a very important movement of modern period, particularly women's movement for right to vote. This is associated, this is called suffrage movement, and finally women got the right to vote in many countries in 20th century. Even in fact, even United States of America, the black people could get the right to vote in 1960s, particularly after civil rights movement. So therefore, the question of political equality on the one hand is important for liberal democracy, and this is an important democratic element in liberal democracy. But in fact, we can see that how after sustained struggles this important element has been universalized and has been recognized, which was recognized in theory but was not in practice. But now we can see that both in theory and practice this idea has been realized. As I mentioned, that women's suffrage at federal level in Switzerland happened only in 1971, and in that way, as I mentioned earlier also, that India is an exception, where from day one we have had universal adult franchise, and therefore this theory practice distinction is important. And in fact, the elite theory from the very beginning, we will look at elite theory as a critique from very beginning has been arguing against these political equalities, and the people are not equal. People are unequal in terms of their endowments, in terms of their ability, in terms of their caliber. So therefore, the concept of political equality is flawed, and therefore liberal democracy degenerates into mediocrity, promotes mediocrity, and degenerates into a system where perhaps people's worth is not properly recognized. So this is one of the criticism of elite theory, but one thing we should remember, that in spite of this criticism, liberal democracy pats itself on its back for making this important value a modern value of modern times, an integral part of liberal democracy. So therefore, and here in fact one can say that thinkers like Rousseau, who argued against inequality, perhaps can be considered important inspiration for liberal democracy, in spite of his entire liking for direct democracy. This aspect in liberal democracy can be associated with his legacy. Then you have the concept of competitive and open election. That is another democratic feature in liberal democracy, because it believes in competitive election where people have choices. Choice, of course, is an important liberal value, but nonetheless this open competition and the process of open election through which people exercise their choice, and this is how the consent is measured, and this is how perhaps accountability is established in the system through periodic auditing of representatives and the government. After a certain interval, people have a right to exercise their choice and decide whether their representatives are functioning properly or not. So therefore, this is another important democratic feature, that is competitive and open election. Then you have the concept of political pluralism, and therefore multi-party system and open competition among ideologies and movements is another important feature of this democratic feature. Of course, in fact there is a concept of democratic elitism, particularly Joseph Schumpeter, who didn't agree that the multi-party system and open competition of ideologies and movements, because this entire issue of participation of the people, that entire society should participate, the mass participation, will of the all, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So this government by the people has, many scholars have expressed reservation, and here the concept of democratic elitism of Schumpeter becomes important, because Schumpeter says that democracy is an institutional arrangement for arriving at political decisions in which individuals acquire power to decide by means of a competitive struggle for people's vote. So his argument is that if there is a competition among elites for the votes of the people, and if people have the choice to choose from one of the elites, then one can say that democracy exists. The rule will be by the elites, but those elites will be competing for the consent of the people. So therefore, you have the combination of both elite rule and the participation of the people, and therefore Schumpeter's view has been called democratic elitism, that he has combined elitism with the democratic feature of participation in terms of the people. So demand supply logic, in fact, he brings in in his feature. Now coming to the critique of liberal democracy, there are 6-7 criticism. The classical elite theory of Pareto, Mosca and Michels. Then you have the modern elite theory of Schumpeter, Shearight, Mills and Burnham. Schumpeter we have already seen that democratic elitism. The classical elite, Pareto, Mosca and Michels, they believed that democracy is a sum, because ultimately every society is ruled by elites, because they are endowed with a special qualities. Only elites can rule. Masses don't have the capacity to rule. So therefore, these three thinkers are the classical elite theorists who rubbish this idea of government by the people. It can never be government by the people. It will always be government by the elites. The modern elite theory, particularly Shearight, Mills and Burnham, they are important. Then there is a neo-pluralist like Galbraith, Charles Lyndon, and neo-right, neo-liberal. Then there is a tyranny of majority argument, which I mentioned, Tocqueville and Mill, who said that it has a tendency to degenerate. And then you have the socialist and Marxist criticism that without social democracy, political democracy has no meaning. And then you have the recent quest of participatory democracy, particularly Macpherson, Patman, Benjamin Barber. They have been arguing that this liberal democracy, name of representative democracy, has completely got rid of participation of the people. So therefore, in order to make sense of this democracy. In order to give meaning to this democracy, we have to increase participation. And then you have the deliberative democracy like Joshua Cohen, Jürgen Habermas and James Fiskin. They said that debate and dialogue should be the important feature of liberal democracy. Without debate and dialogue, no justification and legitimacy in system can happen. So the societies, the liberal democracy should try to enhance and increase this deliberative dimension in society. The people should have more dialogue, discussions before any decision is taken. And if that argumentation and deliberation happens, then naturally the system will become more legitimate. Then there is a feminist critique, and there is also a communitarian and multicultural critique that liberal democracy is group blind. It has ignored group identities for individual rights, and therefore they have tried to bring in the group sensitivity to liberal democracy. Now we have already seen the classical elites argument, Mosca, Pareto and Michels, that only elites will rule. And now this another important is particularly this democratic elitism of Schumpeter. We have also seen that how he tries to combine elitism with participation. The power elites of C. Wright Mills, particularly the way he talked of United States of America, that politics is dominated by big business and the military in United States, and he called it military industrial complex, and therefore this military industrial complex dictated the government policy, and it was largely immune from electoral pressure. So he critiqued liberal democracy in United States of America, which is perhaps epicenter of liberal democracy, and said that it has generated into a system where the people have no role to play. Then you have the James Burnham managerial revolution, that it is basically the scientifically skilled people, administrative skilled people who are basically calling the shots. People have no role. Then of course there are also the neo-pluralist critique like Galbraith and Charles Lindbaum. But the most important defense, then there is of course neo-right critique, the neoliberal critique, that it is turning into populism, overload on the system because of the populist measures which liberal democracy takes in order to solicit people's support. And finally the defense is by the most important Robert Dahl, particularly his theory of polyarchy, that no elite rule, there are multiple groups, and those groups bargain and compete, and therefore one can say that this liberal democracy through polyarchy is to be seen as a properly understood democratic system in modern time.